Hi there folks, Rich here. Hope you're all doing very well today. So the focus of this video is this macro page that I've created called Kontakt Template Assistant. There is one particular thing that we'll need to be able to take care of manually, and this is where I'll get onto a feature request. But for the most part, the idea with this is to cut down on the time needed to create templates when using Kontakt libraries. This, in part, wouldn't be possible without the work of Lukas. If I go to Studio One here and select on Studio One extensions, we can see that this extension, Navigation Essentials, is installed. You'll need to get this in order for this macro page to work for you. What you'll need to do is head over to Lukas's site, s1toolbox.com, and I'll provide a link in the description, of course. Head over to Studio One Scripts, Navigation Essentials, and then have a look for this here where it says sign up to my newsletter to download Navigation Essentials. Scroll to the bottom, put your name in, your email address, and then send me the Studio One scripts. He puts a message on there that he's only going to be sending out emails when there's a new Studio One script or update for this package available. We'll be focusing on this particular function, or this command, where we can set the MIDI channels in ascending order. So to cover the sections, we can add in 16 instances of Kontakt, or just the one. When the channels are selected, we can assign the ascending order of those, and this uses that command from Lukas's script. We can pack them to a folder that's ready named, and there'll be a little bit of manual tinkering, but I'll go through that in just a moment. But it includes things like a custom folder, if you'd like to name one specifically for your own purposes. But we've got a lot of the traditional types of buses and folders that we'd expect to see, like strings for standard articulations, and then we've got one specifically for shorts, where we might like to apply a different type of reverb, or even less. Same applies for winds and brass. And then we've got the folders for percussion, hybrid percussion, trailer percussion, choirs, solo voices, solo instruments, synths, transitions, sound effects, and Foley. There's this little section called Tidy Up, better with shortcut keys in parentheses. I have these assigned to my number 1 and number 2 button on my keyboard as left and right, I suppose. This is only really useful if we make mistakes when creating the template, but I'll cover that in just a second. And then finally we've got this save section. This enables us to rename the song file, should we need to. Save the template, which is kind of the purpose of this. And then if we're working within the template and we've decided to carry on and we'd like to save our song, then we can do so here. Now, one thing in particular with this is that it's designed to speed up the workflow of creating templates specifically for Kontakt. And what I'd hope to be able to do in the future is do the same for other libraries and other types of instruments. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the first drop down and what it actually means. So if I was to select Add To, it will add 2 instances or 2 channels to my arranger window, but it isn't actually 2 instances of Kontakt because we're using the multi-output functionality of Kontakt so that we can save on resources. One of the things that you can do with Kontakt is, let's say for example we wanted to load in several of the same library. As I load these in, and we've got 3 so far, we can see that that's 393.67 megabytes. As I add more, that does not increase. We still have 393.67 megabytes, and that's because the samples have been loaded into RAM. Some of the old school gang will generally set up an articulation per channel. So they'll do long sustains, consoldinos, spiccatos, and so on. Now, if you are using multiple articulations, this is absolutely fine too, because that's exactly what this is for. The idea with this really is to speed up that whole process of getting these in and creating the templates. If we go to the browser, usually what we'll be doing, we drag in Kontakt and create a track like that. If I hit this little caret here, I can drop down and we can see that these instrument presets have been created. If I right click and say show in Explorer, we can have a look at those in the folder. So when we're looking at the drop down, this is essentially what we're looking at. We don't add a single one because the default is one output. These are located in the Studio One folder under Presets, Native Instruments, Kontakt. I'll provide a link in the description so you can download these and simply drag them into that folder if you've got Kontakt installed already. So what do they actually do? Well, in actual fact, nothing special. If we go to the drop down here under To Stereo Out, we can see that it's just simply routed, the first one and the second one. Again, if we to load the 4, we can see that there's 4. It really is that simple. But when you're doing this maybe several hundred times, it can be quite tiresome. So what this drop down does additionally is it loads in that instance of Kontakt and then duplicates it the appropriate amount of times so that we can actually work with it. So what I'll do is I'll walk you through first of all creating strings. So because I know that I want to create strings, I know that there's typically 5 sections, assuming that I'm not using Divisi libraries or anything like that. So I'll have first and second violins, violas, cello and bass, and that's 5 sections. So I'll insert 5 of those. I'll hold down the Shift key and select them all, and then click on this button, Channels Ascending. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first one, check that the channel here is KTST1, navigate to the next one down using my down arrow key, selecting 2, then 3, then 4, and then 5. And this is kind of a feature request in essence. Wouldn't it be cool if we could highlight those or have a command where we can actually update these as well? And thank you very much, Lukas, for this particular script. It's been extremely useful to me, so thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pack these to a folder and call it strings. This drop down, we're going to say add bus channel, and I'm going to colour them green, and you'll see why now. So we're going to take our first, second, violas, cello and basses, and we're going to drag these into Kontakt. Wonderful. We'll minimize those. What you'll need to do if you don't see it is go to this drop down here, select outputs, then preset or batch configuration, batch functions, and then clear output section, and create one individual channel for each loaded instrument. That will take care of the outputs for you. We can close that and take a look at what we've got here. So we've got a folder, which is actually a bus as well. If we have a look in the mixer, called strings, and we've got our 5 instrument channels. So there is one neat little tip regarding Kontakt, in the sense that you can open up the instance of Kontakt and copy and paste the library names directly into the arranger, as if it was a text editor. Okay, put the cello in and the basses. So now that these are named, we can see that they're named nicely within our instruments, but they're updating inside of the mixer as well, so that's one less thing to do. But what if we get ahead of ourselves and we forget to do that? Right, let's remove those selected tracks. I'll remove the instance of Kontakt, and then we'll go through the whole process again. So let's add 5, highlight those, channels ascending, and we're not going to do this. Maybe we just get ahead of ourselves and we start to import our libraries. So we do everything correctly, we go to that, set the outputs, and then we start to name them, because we don't want to lose where we are with things. Let's close the mix there. Okay, so we name them all, and then we decide, oh, we need to update the channels. Forgot that bit. We go to our mixer and then we see, actually, it all looks like rubbish. None of the names have updated in the mixer or anything like that. Right, so that's not helping us in terms of keeping organized within the mixer. So the idea is, if we have the mixer open, I select the strings folder, and on my keyboard I've got it set up as a shortcut, hence this tidy up better with shortcut keys, and click on next and rename channel. As I press that, because it's selecting this channel, it's highlighted in the arranger, so I don't need to worry about what it needs to be called, because it's actually telling me. Great. So that's just a little bit of tidying up there that we've done very quickly. Now, of course, you can double click into here and update them in there too. But I think it's nice to have a prompt and a nice place to do it with shortcut keys. So that's the strings back where they should be. Play the violins. Violins 2. Violas. Cello. And the basses. Wonderful. If we press the record arm on the folder, we can play everything like an ensemble. Okay, so that out of the way, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to create the winds and the brass with 5 instruments per ensemble. We can see how quick we can get through it. Done. There we go, all fun and games. So what we've got in the mixer as well is we've got everything all lined up properly. We've got all of the names of the instruments in there. And of course, we can do separate folders for our shorts if we'd like to have them separate. We can also do a custom folder as well if we want to add, say, particular legatos that have a different amount of reverb. But the cool thing about having these in folders as well is, because they're acting the same as they would with buses, is that we can add things like effects to them you know, such as open air. So we get open air up, and we'll pick something like the Halls 5000, drop that in there. And then what we can do, if we really want to be sort of super careful about how we apply the reverb, put EQ after it, go to the sends, and we can say, hey, I want that FX on all of those channels, and then I can decide how much of that is been applied to each one. Of course, I can solo the bus, so I can make that determination. Wonderful. So mix and do all the things that you need to do. Template created, you can then select save template. Of course, you can take this another step, add your percussions, different string libraries, have a different folder for different string libraries, or combine them together. And it's really up to you. And the whole point of the Kontakt template assistant is just to give you that helping hand in terms of getting everything where you need it to be, so you can focus on making music. I'll pop links below for Lukas's script, those instrument presets that I created with the routed Kontakt outputs already, and of course the macro page itself. Enjoy making music, and I'll see you soon. Take care.